Welcome back, folks, to the Upper Tier Podcast. This is our Thursday Tier Talk, the live show that we bring you each and every week, where we chat for about an hour about all the latest topics in the world of football. Joining me, as always, on the show, the Dazzler himself, Darren. How are we?
How am I now? I'm looking damn good if I do say so myself, my friend.
That fresh trim.
A fresh cut, baby. Beard all done. Big shout out to the one and only Sabina Nita, hooking me up with all the best and treatments and fades and snips and cuts and you name it, she can do it, our girl. Suburb, hit her up. She is the bomb. See that?
Excellent. Nice. Just before we get into the show tonight, folks, I just want to mention that I have a guest coming on to the show next week. He's a chap called Ed Lindsay. He's a good friend of mine. But he's on the Bionic Biker on Instagram, and he went through a heavy cancer battle there back around 2009, 2010, stuff like that, and came out the other side of it. And was very lucky. It was very touch and go, to be honest. And I think he's doing a bike ride in aid of the Marrowbone Society, and he's trying to raise funds for that. So he's going to be coming on the show next week to have a chat. We'll have a little bit of chat about football, but we're going to talk about his journey through his battle and stuff like that. And he's going to be cycling. I think it's somewhere around 630 kilometers. It's from is it Mallinhead to Mizenhead or the other way around? I'm not too sure.
Yeah,
But he's going
it's
to
the
be
most northerly to the most southerly point of
yeah,
Ireland.
I think he's going southern to north. I think that's the way he's doing it. But it's something like 630 kilometers. We're going to be putting up a donation tab and stuff like that on the night and stuff like that. Try and raise a few quid from stuff like that. But it's an absolute brilliant story. It will pull on your heartstrings. He was a really, really good friend of mine, and I remember sitting in the shop one day, and he came in to visit me and say hello. He came in with his dad, and he had gone through a number of joint replacements and stuff like that, because obviously the therapy had affected his joints and all sorts of stuff. And I remember when he left the shop that day being absolutely heartbroken, and I came home to Hillary and I said to Hillary, I think I'm going to lose a mate. And I was heartbroken, and she had to console me. But enough of that. He's going to come on next week. We're not sure what night. It's going to be either Tuesday or Wednesday or something like that. He's going to tell us his whole story. He's going to tell us about the whole bionic biker thing and stuff like that and all. So hopefully, if you want to join us on the night, if you have any questions or you've been touched by anything like this, he's a great guy. Absolutely, he's the centre of any party. Always loves having a great time and stuff like that. Loves living life and stuff like that. But he's going to come on. He's going to tell us a story, tell us all about the bionic biker and all that, and fill us right in on it. So it won't necessarily be overly football related, but I thought it was something really, really important that we should do. So let's get into
Absolutely.
tonight's. Yeah, so
Absolutely.
let's get into tonight's show, and we will start with.
I
Who
have to
else?
say, I thought this was a bit rich. Did you?
I thought this was very rich, and I'm of the vintage where I remember some of the stuff that
Christ.
this man got up to.
Like,
Um, Stan Collymore coming out has suggested that football clubs should ban players from drinking alcohol following a reaction to Jack Grealish's holiday in Las Vegas. Give me your thoughts on this.
he's what? What is he? 23, 24? He's a kid,
Yeah,
an awful lot of money. Who's just won a Premier League. Go and enjoy yourself. Once you're back for the first day of training, your head's in the right place, and you leave it all out there in the training pitch. It's good by me. Live your life, kid.
yeah.
And I mean,
Well, I
nobody, and
suppose,
especially Stan Collymore should be telling people what to do. Oh
yeah.
my god. Oh, let's not give Ulrika the smacks. There's a good job, Sahan, you clown. Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
I thought there was two sides to this. First of all was, um, obviously Jack Grealish is having an amazing downtime. I mean, he's in a beat the 1 minute, next minute he's in Vegas, and I have to say, if I just got signed for a club for 100 million at that age, I'd be enjoying myself on my downtime. And then when the season for these guys is long enough, they don't get a lot of downtime. So when they
No.
do get it, they have to let their hair down some way.
Absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly. And you know what, to be honest with you, I like seeing the lad out there enjoying himself because I think it's nights like that and it's days like that where you're having fun and you're enjoying yourself. That gets you through the darker times when, when it's cold and it's wet and it's windy and you're out there on that training pitch. And yeah, we know they're being compensated very, very well and stuff like that. But that's when, you're going, I really put the effort in here. If we can get another couple of trophies in the bag, nip away in another one of these holidays with a few of the boys, have a bit of crack, create a few memories. And, there's no big problem. Stan Collymore, you're an absolute moron. Zip it, Stan. Zip it.
Oh, I knew you were gonna. I knew you were gonna.
Keep writing that really bad column for the Sun. We know what they're all about.
Yeah. Let's never to be mentioned on this podcast. Let's talk about
Never.
a little trailer that dropped the other day.
Yeah.
I don't know if you caught it. I'm sure you did. What was your thinking on it? I think this is going to be good. I'm excited for this. I want to talk to you about the timing of it though. The first episode is coming out August the 4th. And I think Arsenal are playing Palace, aren't they, on Friday the 5th. So this
Yes,
is
that's right.
gonna and this is gonna be what? This is gonna be maybe an 8 or 10 parter. So
I'd
this is
say it's
gonna
going to be
run for
something like that. Yeah.
yeah. So this is gonna run for nearly 2.5 months of Arsenal in the trenches playing football. What's your feeling on the timing of it and stuff like that? Could it be a little bit derailing and stuff like that, or
Absolutely, you could. I mean, you've got to look back at whatever kind of shitstorm you were going through at that stage and think, who did this? Who did what? Like, I firmly believe the time to run that was through the summer. While the lads were on holidays and nothing was too important. You know what I mean? Obviously, Arsenal are working behind the scenes on getting bodies in, and they're doing a pretty good job of it and stuff like that. We have to say, but I mean, like right now, for if you're an Arsenal fan, you do not the night before the league kicks off want to watch an hour of this and just go, oh my god, what's been going on at this club? And then the next night you have to try and put that hat on and go, all right, we're focused and we're ready to rock and stuff like that. I think timing's imperative in sport. I think this is really, really bad timing, if I'm honest.
yeah? I mean, they I wonder. I
I'm,
wonder
I'm
does
looking
our
forward to it, by the way. I'm
yeah
really looking forward. As we said, I've watched quite a number of these, and I love the Spurs one. I like the
mm,
Juventus one. I've watched the City one and stuff like that. And there's a lot of good stuff in these things, but I just think timing is important. And I just don't see this being a positive the night before the league campaign kicks off.
I wonder would Arsenal have had a say in the timing of it.
They should have.
Um, you
Absolutely
would
should
have
have.
thought so. Or maybe there's another agenda here. Maybe this is when they wanted it to come out. Maybe they were going to use it maybe as a motivational thing or something like that. You know.
Well, I mean, I'm sure the Arsenal boys themselves have got to watch this behind the scenes anyway. I
Mm,
don't doubt that it's been screened almost, possibly from a board level, and maybe they've said, listen, the players can come in and watch a bit of it here and there, and the club obviously it doesn't come outside the club and whatever, but they want to see how, because if I'm a player, I want to see how I come across in that setting, and because I could be in for an awful lot of flack from fans if I don't come across the right kind of way. Like if we look back at the likes of the Sunderland one and stuff like that, I know certain lads got an awful lot of heat from the Sunderland fans after this came out. The likes of Jack Rodwell and stuff like that,
yeah,
who basically sat in a physio table for months on end, taking huge, huge salary, when Sunderland were spiraling out of control. So this could be tough. I don't. The man in the middle of the picture there, I don't see this going very well for him whatsoever. I would imagine he realised this thing's coming out down the line. I need to get out of London, or I'm not going to be safe at all.
or stuff could come out where it goes really well for him, and
No,
it doesn't reflect well on maybe Mikel Arteta. Who knows?
not on your Nelly.
You reckon Mikel Arteta's been spending some time in the clipping room in the Amazon offices or something like that, yeah?
Absolutely, 110%. Well, I don't even think it's a necessity for him to be in clipping around. I just think, looking at the guy Aubameyang, I think, we can all surmise what kind of a guy he is, and he's not the kind of guy I'd want in the dressing room, put it that way.
Would you be saying that an Amazon original could be even contrived, huh? Would we go as far as that nearly?
No, I think listen, I think Amazon, well, if you look at the Spurs one, You know, I know the
Mm.
Spurs was Amazon as well. It was Amazon Prime and stuff like that. And I know like there was a lot of stuff in that people wouldn't have wanted to see from a Spurs side. But obviously there's been a certain amount of money put down on the table there for this. And maybe it's the money that's enabling Arsenal to go out and make the signings they're making this summer. You know, because we know these types of media platforms have massive money to put out on
Yeah.
series like this, you know. So
Mm.
listen, if it meant Arsenal got a new player in the door that they had to sit through 8 episodes of this, I think it's a massive win. But I think guys like Aubameyang definitely wanted out of the building before it was screened.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how the Arsenal fan base react to it as well, because obviously it's quite divided. Because you've the supporters of Mikel Arteta there, but then you've also got the supporters of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, who was in there as well, and you know how tough they found finding goals and stuff like that. And I know he wasn't performing to the level he normally would prior to going and stuff like that. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if certain sections have egg on their face if it comes out that
I
one Mr. Mikel Arteta was 100% justified in what
I
went
don't
on
I
and
don't
crowbarring the
believe
door.
I don't believe Aubameyang has very many supporters in the background, especially at Arsenal, as you know, as fans. I think, as we spoke the other night, you know, certain players are extremely unlikable. I think he's one of them, and I think he's unlikable even for his own supporters. I think, you know, you talk about guys like Suarez, and obviously certain if you're an opposing fan, you might think, you know, Suarez, he's a little gutter rat. I don't like him. He's this, he's that. He's a brand new hat. But Liverpool fans loved him. They adored him. I don't imagine, you know, that's the case with Arsenal fans. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know if Del Boy, Gunnar, and if Morris are out there and they want to let us know if he was revered, if he was loved, if they'd love to have him back, you know, let us know. But for me, he was a bad influence. Get the boy out, you know.
Yeah,
I'd
well,
say
I
he'll be
suppose.
watching it with he'll
Yeah,
be
well, I
watching it with a
suppose.
helmet on like this, won't he?
Yeah, yeah. Or maybe does a few bob in for him, so we won't care. To
Possibly.
those imagery things and stuff like that. But yeah, I'd imagine the boys would have had strong views in terms of like Arsenal were struggling to find goals. Obviously, he was struggling to find form, but he would be a guy who would get you goals. And I suppose that's where a certain section of the support would have come from.
Yeah, but
You know, so
so I had this argument with someone today with a friend called Ben, and he's one of the barbers in the barbershop was in this morning. And he spoke about Lukaku and Richarlison. He was like, you know, he said, you know, Richarlison, he's not up to much. And I was like, what do you mean he's not up to much? He said, yeah, you know, like bloody blah. And he was giving a little bit. And I was like,
shout out to Ben, shout out to
shout out
Ben.
to Ben, yeah.
Go on,
And I was
Ben.
like, oh, I said, but what do you mean? Like, I said, like, he outscored Lukaku last year in the league. And he said, yeah, but Lukaku didn't play games. I said, he didn't play games because he was shit. He said, yeah, but if he'd have played the same amount of games as Richarlison had played, I said, but the games he played, he was woeful. I said, don't forget the kid goes missing in 12 games a season against the top six. I said, you can't have a guy who's only going to play 2/3 of your games. You know, then you've got his injuries as well. You throw in a couple of injuries. Like all of a sudden, you have a player like Lukaku who's maybe playing 19, 20 league games a season. Now, he's only picked up 8 league goals this season, you know, and I knew it was single figures, so I went in at this. And, you know, I would say the same thing. Like, Aubameyang wasn't good in an Arsenal jersey. I believe if Eddie Nketiah had gone in ahead of Aubameyang at an earlier stage, I think Arsenal could have been in a better position. Because I think Nketiah takes some of the chances that Aubameyang.
Yeah, interesting shout. I wouldn't wholeheartedly agree with you there. If there was a chance to score a goal, I think I'd rather have Aubameyang on it than Eddie Nketiah, and I think most Arsenal fans would agree with that.
But
If you
you
park the
watched him.
shithousery and all the other stuff.
Yeah, but you watched him for those, you know, between August and January. He was fucking horseshit.
But there was problems there. There was obviously problems there because it didn't just happen.
But
Remember in
putting
that
the
window.
ball in the back of the net has nothing to do with problems. If that ball sits in front of you and you're anyway worth your salt, you put that ball away. And he didn't. And he had
Yeah,
numerous chances and he couldn't put the ball away. So, you
yeah,
know, and he didn't light it up in Barcelona. He did okay, but he absolutely didn't light it up, you know.
yeah. But Barcelona last season didn't light it up. But in fairness, he went in and he did decent.
They finished second in the league.
No, but what I mean is they didn't light it up as a season goes. They didn't light it up, if you know what I mean.
I know, but he came into the team that were, I think when he came in January, they were about sixth and they finished in second, right? So they moved up the table, but he didn't necessarily light it up, you know, to the point where you'd say, oh God, you know, if you put all those goals back into the Arsenal team, like some lads are just overrated, and he's one of them, if you ask me. Gotta be honest with you.
don't know. I think when he came in and stuff, he was sensational. You know what I mean? So I know there was a
I
drop
don't
off
think
there
he.
in
I don't
form, but
think there was ever a period where I looked at him and went, "This guy's one of the best players in the world." Never, ever.
jeez, I don't know. Arsenal fans might disagree with you there when he first came in and stuff like that. He was excellent. But yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think so,
Look,
man.
look.
Excellent is fine. Excellent is fine. But like, if we're talking about what's needed to get Arsenal to that next level, and what we're and what we're saying is this guy was a big player, bloody blah. Like, unless he's absolutely the creme, which he quite obviously for me wasn't. Like, I've never had him, and I've never heard anybody have him in a conversation saying that guy's one of the best in the world. Never even heard it. Yeah, and that's Arsenal fans as well.
No, I think a lot of Arsenal fans would have been talking that kind of talk back when he was on his palm for them and stuff like that. He was incredible. I think anyway. But listen, this is what the show is about. Come in and correct me if you think I'm wrong. But I think at Arsenal at times I think he was absolutely sensational. But that's
Not
just
for
my
me.
call on it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not for me.
I think to be honest, at times when his form dipped, I'm not talking about when he signed a new contract and all the other shit that went down, but I think at times in there as well, I think at times the club let him down a little bit in terms of what needed to go in there to actually facilitate how good he was.
Yeah, but
But yeah,
when he
that's
signed the
just my
contract, he down tools. Like, he
yeah, but
absolutely down tools.
yeah, but I'm sure probably more is going to come out about that. It's like why would you sign a contract like that and get everything that you wanted and down tools?
Because he's a greedy cunt.
Yeah, but he had gotten
And
the
all
money.
he
He didn't.
wanted
Greed shouldn't make a difference. You still want to play your
was the
football.
paper. But sure didn't need it. The money was in the bank at that stage. It wasn't like you were going to say, "Oh, listen, by the way, you didn't play well this week. Let's take
No,
25 or
but
30% out of that."
that's the point I'm making. You he had
Not done.
already gotten the contract and stuff like that, so there was no reason
Yeah, because he was
that was the
going out,
thing for
and at one
Downing
stage he
tools.
might have been putting a shift in. But as soon as he got the deal, it was like, yeah, feet up. That's that done now.
Yeah.
I can retire here on 300 grand a week. Job done. Easy money. And it
Mm.
was only when boys went questioning and went, "Hold on, pal, you're not getting the ball from your left to your right foot. Like, what's going on here? You were one of our better players, you know, and all of
Yeah.
a sudden now, like, you can't pick up the axe to swing it. What's the story like?" Nah, don't like the guy. Really don't
Mm.
like the guy.
So let's move on then. Let's talk. Sir Alex Ferguson came out. His most disappointing signing was Owen Hargreaves. What's your thoughts on this one?
I think context there is very, very important,
Yeah, absolutely.
because, like, if you look at when Hargreaves came in, he was phenomenal.
Mm.
Now, I mean phenomenal. That first
Yeah.
season, he was electric.
Mm. Yeah,
You
no,
know,
I think the way it's going, it's not necessarily that he thought Hargreaves was a bad player. I
no,
think
no, no,
what
no.
he's saying is he signed him and thought he was going to be absolutely sensational, probably for a longer period in his
Yeah,
career.
probably a massive letdown, because he absolutely thought this guy is going to be the anchor in this midfield for the next number of years. And I mean, the injuries, the kid just couldn't get on the pitch. Like, but the first year he arrived at Old Trafford, we won the Champions League that year. He was phenomenal, banging in free kicks, and he's taking control of the game. His energy was unbelievable. I have to say, when you talk about disappointment, he's a guy that comes to mind for me straight away, because I feel like he didn't meet his potential. But again, that for me was solely based upon his body and not being able to get fit and get on the pitch. Like, when he was on the pitch for United, he was unbelievable. He was the missing piece of the puzzle that we had been missing for a couple of years. That guy in the midfield, tough tackler, all action, box to box, did the whole lot, and really looked like he was going to be unbelievable for United, but just was plagued by injury. And I can see where Ferguson is coming from when he says that, but I just think that context is very, very important.
Yeah, I think when you read it, it actually sounds more like a compliment than a dig. It's more
Possibly.
complimentary than it is a dig. That's how I read it. But I think even if you listen to interviews from Owen Hargreaves himself, there's no one more disappointed in how his career turned out than himself. Um,
Absolutely.
so
Because
yeah,
again, I don't think he's the kind of guy who plays football for money.
hmm,
He absolutely looked like he played football for the love of it. And he put himself about there, and he was flying into tackles. And again, that was probably, to his detriment. that he was going in and he was trying to be all action and he was here, there, and everywhere. And he probably needed to protect himself a little bit more. But
Yeah.
if that's not how you play, that's not how you play, you know.
Yeah.
Like I would have some other players up there, I have to tell you. Like if you ask me my most disappointing signing for Man United ever, I'm sure he's in for. Did Ferguson give a top 10?
He didn't give a top 10. There is a top 10 there of players that came
Yeah.
out. It's a separate thing. It wasn't
If
Fergie.
Varane's not in it, I'll eat my hat. Because when we signed Varane, like that for me was a huge moment. He'd been at Parma, you know, we were all, you know, massive fans of Serie A at that stage. He'd gone to Lazio. He was this cultured midfielder who could control the tempo of the game, pass the ball around. He'd an engine in the middle. He could do it all. Came to United and he just really, really flattered to deceive. You know, I don't think we ever saw a run of games. Now there was flashes and there was glimpses and there was moments. You know, I remember a couple of passes and stuff he hit in the Champions League with the outside of the foot and this and that, and you just thought, oh my god, wow. But he never got the ball rolling and kind of kept momentum with it and stuff like that. And he's the first one would come to, like, I would see Hargreaves as a very hard luck story, whereas Varane, it didn't work. And I mean, he went to Chelsea and it still didn't work. You know.
Yeah, it was like they had cloned him, but forgot to include the strand in the gene that was the original ability.
Yeah, it was.
It just,
He
like we've
looked
said
the
it before,
shadow.
brilliant
Absolutely.
players sometimes come into the league and it just doesn't happen for them.
And we've
It just
spoken about
doesn't
that a
happen.
lot for a long time. You know, obviously we spoke last week about that Chelsea curse, the curse of number 9s. Look at how many good number 9s Chelsea have had through that jersey or through that club, and they weren't able to hit the heights that they'd hit elsewhere. But a lot of the elsewheres were outside of the league, you know. So it is a tough league. It's the toughest league in the world to play in for me, you know. And the
Yeah.
physicality of it, the speed of it. The speed of the Premier League is frightening, man. If you look at it in comparison to, like, you know, Spain and Italy and stuff like that, which are probably the second and third biggest leagues in the world. But like the pace of play is so much slower. You know, it really is. And it's
Yeah.
not like the physicality isn't there as well. It's like a chess match rather than that box to box and that energy and intensity and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's touch on this man for a minute. He's after getting his move back to Inter
Bye.
Milan. I wonder, did they offer him the number 9 jersey and he said, "Nah, I don't want that. Can I have 90?" I'm not too sure. What was you thinking of this over the last few days? I mean, we seen that the Inter Milan ultras came out and they didn't have the same welcoming back as you like. They were a little bit taken aback by how it all went down and stuff like that. But he certainly got a great welcome back. Like a hero's return, nearly. What was you thinking on it? I don't know if you've seen much of it.
It was every time I saw something, it kept reminding me of, you know, that Agent Rafa thing where they've sent him to Goodison to spoil the show. It kind
Yeah,
of kept reminding me of that, where, you know, listen, let's sell him to Chelsea, get all this money in. He's going to go over, look like he can't hit a barn door with a banjo. We'll bring him back in 12 months and we'll do it for, you know, a loan with a tenth of the fee. And like, we'll just make an absolute mug of Abramovich and Chelsea. And that's basically what they did. Like, it
yeah,
was mental. It's really mental. The deal for Inter is a deal you do all day, every day, and twice on Sundays. And for Chelsea, you're just like, wow, that's how much of a disruptive influence, and that's how little he brought to the table, that you are willing to let a guy that you've just paid 100 million for leave on an £8 million loan fee with no obligation to buy and no option. Like, that's crazy business. That's business, I would say, business 101 from Ed Woodward.
yeah, yeah. Interesting. I must say. And we'll keep an eye on it. It'll be interesting to see how it all unfolds towards the back end of this season coming as well. Because Inter may not be in a position to cement that, and he might have to. I wouldn't say find his way back to Stamford Bridge, but maybe find his way back there momentarily while he moves somewhere else or something like that.
Well, I mean,
But
here's the thing, right? I fully, and this is exactly what I expect to happen. I expect him to go to Inter. I think he'll have a good season. I think Inter will do well. You know, they'll be top three in Serie A with AC and with Juve. Um, he'll score goals. He'll play well, and I think, probably the back end of next season, when the value is lowered a little bit more, you'll see the likes of PSG get involved at like a 60, 65 million level, and they'll pick him up because I think they need an out and out. You know, I think they like to obviously play Mbappe off the wing rather than straight through the middle. I think if you're putting in an Mbappe, and if you're putting Lukaku straight through the middle there as the 9, and you're playing Mbappe on one side, and obviously maybe Messi on the other side, because obviously we're talking about Neymar possibly leaving PSG. I think that's an option. I think that's what will happen, if I'm honest.
That'd be amazing for Chelsea, because if they could recoup 65 off that and they got 10 off Inter for this year, that's 75. That would be phenomenal, because they were staring down the barrel of a massive write off with this problem. So
Yeah, like
that'd be.
it could be. I think there's a lot dependent on it. Like, here's the thing: what happens? He goes to Inter, you know, he's doing all right first couple of weeks, international break, goes away with Belgium, has an injury, out for a couple of months, sits on the bench, eats a bit of pasta, bit of pizza, puts on a couple of pounds, doesn't
More of the
really hit
same.
the ground running,
More of the same.
doesn't hit the ground running between now and the end of the season, goes back to Chelsea. What's he worth then? 25, 30?
If even. I mean, the thing
So,
about it is, with the record that's being set there, who would even potentially be interested, And I'd imagine the arm around the shoulder from Conte will feel very different than the arm around the shoulder from Inzaghi. I don't
yeah,
think
now
it would
listen,
be very similar.
no, but you know what? I think Inzaghi will know what to do with Lukaku, and also Inzaghi's a striker. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think he could possibly we could see a better Lukaku. But I mean, we're going
Yeah.
to see a better Lukaku anyway, because it's a slower game.
Yeah, but see,
He
I
can
don't, I,
go on
I don't,
bully
I
boy.
don't mean initially if he's doing all right. I mean, as you said, if he gets an
Yeah,
injury or the shit hits the fan or
yeah,
something like
yeah,
that, I'm talking about then. Conte would be kind of a very different dynamic. Um,
yeah.
Something I wanted to bring up tonight: all Premier League and EFL clubs have been asked to give a 3-year commitment of support to released academy players under new rules passed by the Premier League. I think this is an absolutely fabulous move.
Yeah,
And it's mainly the new rule applies to players released from Premier League and EFL clubs in the professional development phase, 17s to 21s. And
yeah,
there will be a focus on mental and emotional well-being and facilitating new opportunities in football, education, or wider career pathways. And I
absolutely.
think this is a fantastic move. I can't imagine if you're a 17-year-old at a club going through that development process, and you're at your dream club, let's say it was a Liverpool or a Man United or something, that to be told, sorry lad, and your dreams are shattered. And up till now, you walk out the door with your bag over your shoulder, thinking you're going to have this kind of a career, and all of a sudden you're back into what we would call normal world, and trying to
Yeah,
deal with that emotionally and mentally and everything as a 17 or an 18-year-old.
very, very tough. And I think we've heard a lot of stories of players and stuff like that that have drifted down the wrong channel after being let go by clubs and stuff like that. I think if you're at a lot of the top clubs, or let's say the bigger clubs, I think life could possibly be a bit different for you, because obviously if I come out of Man United as an 18-year-old and it hasn't worked out with Man United, I've just been at Man United though, so there's more than likely going to be a lot of clubs on that ladder that will go, this kid's just come out of Man United,
You'd have
he's
more
available on a
options.
free. You're going to have options. If I'm let go and I'm at, let's say we talk about our friend Dylan, who was over at Cambridge. You know,
Yeah.
Dylan does make it at Cambridge or comes home or whatever, and all of a sudden life's different, life's very different. You're not looking at being a footballer anymore. Now, we've seen times when guys have gone back to play non-league and have stepped it up again
Yeah.
and have come back in under the radar and stuff like that. But I think they're the exception to the rule rather than the rule. I think the rule is when you get that kick in the nads and you're lower down that league table, the likelihood is you can really, really, really go down the wrong channels and stuff like that. And I think, as you said, this is very welcomed by the Premier League and the EFL. If I'm honest, why is it taking so long? It really shouldn't have taken this long for us to, or for the clubs and for the EFL and for the Premier League to decide that they were going to put something like this in place for guys, because this should have been a prerequisite for quite a number of years, in my opinion.
Yeah, good show. Sorry about that. Absolutely,
That's all
cough's
right.
killing me here. Yeah, I think it's a great show. Look, we've seen it before. We've seen it with the Black Lives Matter. We've seen it with everything. They always tend to play catch up on these things, and obviously they've probably done a bit of research, and research has shown that there's a problem in this area, that needs to be addressed. And I think it's a real good show. And look, we know sometimes they're late to the party, but at least they eventually come to the party. Um,
Yeah.
Morris on from Cheap Heat Productions here. Seeing us. What do you lads think of Lukaku's new number? I think the whole situation was handled with dignity, both from Lukaku and Inter. Nice to see in the game. Dignity wouldn't have been a word.
I think they're both rubbing their hands, Morris, because they both got what they wanted, and they put Chelsea over the back of a barrel, and they're rimming them at this stage, Jesus.
I don't know whether Chelsea would see things as being handled with a level of dignity. But yeah, absolutely great shout, Morris.
While Morris is there, just ask him, will you, Morris? Were you a Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang fan, or do you think the guy's a degenerate and he was a bad influence, and it's better off your club to see him play elsewhere? Because that's how I feel. Niall doesn't maybe feel quite the same. He's a little bit of an Aubameyanger, and I don't like Aubameyang. Come on, Morris. You know where the slide, pal.
You've kind of phrased that a certain way, isn't it? Where that
I don't think I have.
Where I was all in all the time. I wasn't all in.
I think you are I think you had your chips in. It was certainly 80-20.
Yeah, but I was talking about at a time where he was playing really, really well and stuff like that. I wasn't necessarily talking about when himself and Arteta had nearly gone 12 rounds.
So we'll take him when he's playing well, but when he's shite, we'll get rid of him. So you can talk like that about anyone.
No, that's not what I said either. That's not what I said either.
Are you picking and choosing what they're saying in here tonight?
No. You made the point earlier that you didn't think at any stage you thought he was good.
Huh? I said he was. I said he was never ever in a world class conversation for me ever.
Right. Well, we have a response.
You can't hold on. You can't handle big personalities, and you're putting Guendouzi in there. Sideshow Bob. Jesus wept. Manager wants kids, and he's a yes man.
Had a fabulous season in the French league. Don't know, and you follow the French league, so you would have seen.
Do you know why he had a fabulous season in the French league?
Oh, you're going to put this as someone else's door now. Go on. I can see this coming.
I am. Because he played alongside the boy Boubakary Kamara, who's just signed for Aston Villa, who I screened for the last 6 months for United to get him on a free, and they didn't. And the boy Kamara played next to him and pulled this kid along with him, right? And you'll absolutely 110% see why Guendouzi had a decent season at Marseille, and it's 100% because of who he played next. Fact.
But he also had to play. The kid also had to play well himself. You can't just only put it down.
Listen, I'm a fan of a workhorse. The kid's a workhorse. I think quality-wise, he's miles off what Arsenal want. I don't think he has quality. I think he's energy. I don't think he's. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think my dead grandmother, who's been buried 10 years, is a step up on Granit Xhaka, because he is quite easily the most unlikable player in Premier League history for my money. I absolutely
despise that guy, Granit Xhaka. Morris going in hard.
Morris, I think you'll be an upgrade on Granit Xhaka. That's how bad that kid is. He's desperate. Oh my God.
Morris is on fire here tonight. If he's good enough for the French team, he's good enough for Arsenal, I think.
Yeah, well, Anthony Martial gets into the French squad. Let's just throw that out there. So, let's just throw that in, and you can dissect that any way you want. That's a big squad. You've lots of good players. Antoine Griezmann. Who puts Antoine Griezmann into the squad? He's absolutely muck, and has been a number of years since before he left to go to Barca. And he's still getting a spot in the French team, And you're like, how are you going to win out with this guy? He's Tony. Christ.
Morris is going to be...
Guendouzi and Griezmann, the two Gs, don't get a kick at the World Cup. Don't get a kick. They may not even make the squad. There you go. I'm calling it here first.
Morris will be delighted there, because that whole rant you went on there was literally broken up by your poor Wi-Fi, and you only came in at the tail end.
You're joking me.
No.
You mean I went hammer and tongs at that and right at the end you only got
you
the
went
last
hammer and tongs there, and it was all broken up, and literally the last sentence is what came through.
Good, man.
It sounded good though. It sounded like you were going off on a proper one.
It really was, like. You'll have to see what it was like on the replay.
The replay will look the same. Let's change it up here. We like to give some of our viewers and subscribers a bit of fashion advice, don't we? So we're going to bring up these bad boys here now. Gucci and Adidas have teamed up to create a pair of loafers, retailing at £785.
Now you know I'm a fan of a pair of shoes, right? I do like a good pair of kicks. Yeah.
Yeah.
The only person I see wearing these, actually, I can possibly see two. One of them is that absolute cabbage McGregor, because everything he seems to be wearing is Gucci. Yeah. Now I don't know how the Adidas will fall in, because obviously he's got the gig with Reebok from the UFC. And the other one is, and Morris has just hit it, Bellerin. Have you seen his gear? He's the worst dresser to ever set for the Premier League.
And what about the man on the screen?
He's not even stupid.
He'll wear them if there's a check on the end of it. He'll wear them.
McGregor and Bellerin, the only two likelies for them, 110%. Bellerin's wardrobe is conceivably the worst you've ever seen in Premier League history, man.
Bellerin's new boots. I wonder if they do a studded version.
Man, how bad are they?
Quality. Mark's back on with us. Mark Rennan. How are you, Mark? Good to see you. Thanks for dropping on.
Good to have you, Mark.
He reckons.
Dominic Calvert-Lewin. It's not a bad shout, Mark, in fairness to you, pal. It's not a bad shout.
He could wear them as well. Yeah. Be interesting. We should do it.
He'll need something going into the new season when he doesn't have his boy Richarlison to bail him out. When Calvert-Lewin goes missing for 30 games and Everton are up to Swanee, they're going to look and go, where's that little Brazilian lad that kept us up last season? And he'd be in the top four with Spurs, flying high, playing Champions League, going, Mersey, where? Telling you.
Very good. Let's move on to this one. Man United's top 25 players. They did a listing there the other day. Shall we run down through the top 10 and see have you any changes you would like to make to it? I'm thinking you're at least going to make one change. I think there's someone you'll put in here that isn't in here. But we'll go down. I'll give you the listing 10 to 1, yeah?
Yeah.
At 10, Roy Keane. At 9...
I think Keane is low at 10.
Low?
I think he's low at 10.
You think he should be outside the top 10?
No. I think he should be higher. I think 10 is low for Roy Keane. Yeah, okay. I personally do.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah. Well, then you're not going to agree with the next one. At 9... Go on.
Yeah, that's... And you know I'm not a fan of Keane.
Yeah.
So for me to say that, again, I'm having to swallow this a little bit.
Yeah.
9 is laughable. Absolutely
Ronaldo.
Laughable. Yeah. How he could be at 9.
I suppose are they judging it based on the fact that he was there and then he left and now he has come back?
Maybe. Do you think he should be that low? Do you think he should?
I don't think he should be that low.
Absolutely not. Here you go, United fans. You'll hate this one. He should absolutely be ahead of Eric Cantona. Fact.
Interesting. Well, let's intertwine it then. 8 and 7 is Wayne Rooney and Eric Cantona.
Yeah. Um, I think he should be ahead of Eric Cantona, and I wouldn't have him ahead of Rooney. I would have Cantona below Ronaldo and Rooney. Like, Rooney's our all-time record goal scorer. I don't know why he's so low on the list. I really don't.
Yeah. Interesting. 6, Duncan Edwards.
Yeah, listen, I mean, it's hard for us to see Duncan in the right kind of light, you know. I mean, it's so far before our time, and the footage
Yeah.
is obviously sketchy and stuff like that. If the stories are to be believed, you know, he was an exceptionally special talent. And his life unfortunately was cut short. But yeah, just he's probably the one on the list, you know, that I think had the possibility to be a lot higher. Like, I don't think anything necessarily went wrong for a lot of the other guys. Whereas I think, okay, you can make a case for someone else a bit higher up. But I think with Edwards, like, you know, you could certainly see him if he'd had a longer career up in that top 3.
Yeah, absolutely. 5, Paul Scholes.
That's a bit high for me. I think that's high. I have to say, like, I do. I think that's high. I wouldn't personally have him ahead of Ronaldo. I wouldn't. You know?
Yeah. Mark's on. Rooney still haunts my dreams. Who are you telling? Who are you telling?
Once
Oh,
they're
God.
nightmares and weddings, Mark, you're all right.
Yeah. At 4, Dennis Law.
So I have a little bit of a problem with Dennis Law 4 as well.
Okay.
Because he did play for City.
Okay.
You know. So I wouldn't be. I don't personally think Law should be that high either. Now, he was obviously part of the Holy Trinity, which was best launch. You know, so maybe because of the company he hung around in, he's gotten a bit higher than he should have on the list. It's my own feeling.
Yeah, a 3, probably one we definitely wouldn't argue about, would we? Bobby Charlton?
No, I certainly would argue with him, I have to say. I'd have him right there. I think he's exactly where he should be nearly.
Yeah. A 2, George Best.
He's the only other one that I looked at other than Edwards that had anything that maybe didn't go his way. Obviously, you know, if you look at Best and what he could have been compared to what he was now, he was phenomenal. But I do think there was a wasting of talent there at times, you know, because of the way he lived his life and stuff like that. So yeah, for me, I think Best is probably, again, I think he's a little high. I would have had Best for me, Ronaldo and Charlton. Only me.
Okay. And we rounded out at 1, Ryan Giggs. What's your thinking on this one?
I don't know. Like, listen, we know the kind of longevity he had at United and stuff like that. Like, he's obviously spent a massive amount of time there, and he's picked up every trophy known to mankind. But like, don't forget, there was a lot of time where Giggs, wasn't playing 30 games a season. He was playing a lot less than that. And when the stats weren't, unbelievable either, at one stage he looked like he was on his way to Inter. I think Giggs for me on that top 10 is the most out of place than anyone else. Because I personally, I wouldn't have him in my top 5.
Okay, big shout. Interesting.
Yeah.
What we might do for next week's show then is we might get you to do your top 10.
Yep.
And what we'll do is we'll do a comparable, because it'd be unfair for me to do it. I'm a Liverpool fan, but you're a United fan. So
yeah, but you know what? Also, I think that's important that you maybe get somebody who doesn't have a horse in the race as well.
Yeah.
With this noise. Like, would you feel like I was being harsh on me?
No, not at all. I can see exactly where you're coming from. I think the problem with these things is when you have such a long history and stuff like that,
Yeah,
And you've such a demographic probably feeding into this. Anything from, fans that are 17, 18, 19, 20, all the way down to fans that are 50 and 60 and everything and all. So it's kind of
yeah,
like, where you would revere the likes of Cristiano and stuff like that, and obviously Roy Keane was fabulous for you and stuff like that. Other guys would look at Dennis Law and George Best and guys like that in a very similar way because it was maybe their era and stuff like that, and that's what they loved.
yeah. And
So
I think it's very difficult when you look at, to transcend time like that, and you look at the pitches that obviously a best law and a Charlton played on and stuff like that. And if you look at the pitches then that say a Ronaldo and a Rooney played on, it is very difficult to wonder how guys would have got on in other teams and stuff. The only thing I would have said was I would have literally given my left arm to see Rooney and Ronaldo in a front three with George Best. Like they went in with
yeah,
Tevez, and it was amazing. But I think if you'd gone Ronaldo on the right, Best on the left, and Rooney through the middle, it would have been like, I just think that could have been incredible, just incredible. You know.
yeah. Ben's after joining us in there in the chat. He's at work tonight, but he's joining us.
Yup.
Just want to let Ben know. Ben, listen, yourself and Darren are sorting you out with a new set of shoes. Just said we'd show you there. We're putting in the purchase order tonight for them. Those
They'd be all right
Adidas
for the
Gucci loafers.
they'd be all right for the goal kicks, Ben. You'd be grand. Don't worry. You can
We
you
get
can get some punts out of them.
we get a few studs put in them.
Yeah.
And instead of calling them Ben, we call them Bellerin.
Bellerin. Yeah, I like it.
Bellerin.
Bellerin.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good to see you, Ben. Mark is back. Has a high level view there on Ryan Giggs. Yoga and your brother's wife is the key to his longevity. Mark going in hard tonight, not messing about.
Yeah, and I mean, like it's definitely tainted his legacy. That, and obviously giving his new missus the slaps and stuff like that. Like it's definitely tainted his legacy. I mean, I don't think we can forget those things easily. And now it doesn't completely tar and feather him, but it does, so to speak, detract. Like that word, no, it detracts
Detract.
from
Yeah.
his legacy, I would say.
Yeah, and it's only recently, isn't he? He's given up the Welsh job formally, hasn't he? So yeah, so I
Kind
think
of
the
had
court
no
case.
choice, did he?
Yeah, the court case I think starts the 8th of August, if I'm right, if I have my dates right. Ben's back, very happy with the fact that we're getting him to set of loafers, Darren. So yeah, you'll
Yeah, that's
enjoy
good.
them, Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get them for you on one of those sites, like DHK or one of those,
I don't know anything about those sites, Niall, as you know,
Yeah.
but I know you like to frequent them.
Here's one for you. Let's see if you agree with this one. On Talk Sport the other day, Jamie O'Hara, a guy that sometimes has some interesting opinions. But he was talking the other day, has claimed that Romelu Lukaku's Chelsea return is the worst transfer ever. Agree or disagree, or can you think of a worse one?
Yeah, again, like I think it's very hard to pin it down to one. I can I can see where O'Hara's coming from. O'Hara's looking at this transfer fee, and he's looking what Chelsea have gotten for this transfer fee, and he's now looking at what he's left the club for, and he's going, these things don't stack up. So I get O'Hara completely, and I can see where he's coming from. I think it's very difficult. I mean, if you look at it, there's been so many poor signings over the years. Not necessarily poor signings that didn't work out at clubs. Guys that big money. Like, all right. Is there a worse signing than Paul Pogba? We let him go for free. We paid 90 million to get him back, and we let him go for free again. In the meantime, we paid him nearly 350 grand a week, and he couldn't kick snow off a rope. He had a bad attitude, and he was a bad egg in the dressing room. Is he not worse than Lukaku?
There's similar parallels to it, isn't there, really, when you think about it? Because he'll probably go off and play for Juve now, and he'll look amazing. And the same with Lukaku. Lukaku will probably go back to Inter and probably look amazing. And people will be scratching their heads going, what the hell? You know what I mean? And we've seen it even at times. Remember the times when we see Pogba going off and he plays for France and he looks unbelievable. Now, obviously, he's playing in a very high-level French side as well with some really good players around him and stuff like that. But, like, the drop-off is sensational when he used to come back then to United after those international breaks.
Yeah, but the problem was he was getting found out with United because he couldn't play at that speed and tempo. Like, and I've said this before, and I'll turn into Papa Bleeding Smurf saying this. I'll be blue in the face. Like, he couldn't physically put up with the demands of the Premier League. That's why in international football he looks like a baller. That's why he'll go to Juve and he'll look like a baller. But he'll never, ever do it in the Premier League because it's a step above him and it's a level above him and it's physically above Paul Pogba.
Mark back in again. Every club have one, I reckon. We've had quite a few, Mark, fairness, at Liverpool. Andy Carroll, Benteke comes to mind, Balotelli. We've had a bunch of them, but we've also had a bunch of lads as well that wasn't really, really expensive, but they were horrific.
I'm looking at every club has one, and he's looking at poor Mikel Silvestre for Arsenal. Like, did he not go to Arsenal for either 3 or about 3 million? You couldn't be that bad of a signing for 3 million, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. But a good shout, Mark. Appreciate that. Guess who's in the chat? Our
There's our
resident
resident referee.
referee is after showing up. He should be jumping on if he had time. All right, lads, you are looking great. Cheers, Mark. Mark, don't know if Mark Dazzler got the hair and all done today for tonight's show. Dropped a little plug on it and everything, you know. Mark, you might have missed. I don't know if you seen it earlier. Ryan Giggs voted the number one player in Man United's all-time list. Let us know your thoughts in the chat there. Let us know what you think. Would you agree with Giggsy? Be interesting to see if we get your comments on it. What else did I want to tell you? Yeah, we did a Shankly Sessions last night. Statman Stephen Stubbs was on and Craig was back as well. And I think we were all in agreement.
I really don't want to try and say that after a few gargles. Statman Stephen Stubbs, whoa, that's going to kill me after a few points, isn't it? Jesus.
Yeah.
I'm getting the collie wobbles thinking about that.
But he has a great channel out there, so go over and hit subscribe on it and stuff like that and like and all. He does quizzes and everything on it. It's really cool. But the three of us, we spoke last night about Liverpool went through 130 goals of the greatest goals in the club. And it came down to number one goal ended up being corner taken quickly Origi. The goal against
the best
Barcelona.
goal of all time.
Best goal of Liverpool's 130. They did 130 goals because it's 130 years. So of 130 goals, that was voted number one. Now, obviously, you could talk about the fabulous goals that Gerrard has scored and
listen. It's top for one reason. You know, it's the winning goal in one of the greatest turnarounds in Champions League history over a 2-leg. You know, to go in the first leg and be absolutely ravaged and ripped apart and be battered, and to come back in the second leg and do what you did, and to nick it at the end with a piece of quick thinking like that and the way it's gone about it. Like, I absolutely get why it's at number one. Would I have it there myself? Probably not. But I can see why it's there, you know?
There's one, yeah, I was talking about it last night, and I thought in terms of a goal, it has the whole package, the commentary, the emotion, the scene, everything. The stage was set for it and stuff like that, and I could see why it would voted. Does one come to mind that knocks it off in your mind? I mean, I obviously remember the Gerrard Olympiacos goal with Andy Graham commentary, you beauty. Remember when he scored that goal in the Champions League, I think it was. And obviously the FA Cup final.
From a striking point of view, like I've got one in my head. I'm sure it's Suarez versus Norwich. Am I right?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, and this is I shouldn't really have favourite Liverpool goals. I shouldn't. And when you find out who this goal was against, I really, really, really shouldn't have favourite Liverpool goals. But the Risa goal for me was just unbelievable. You know, the little step that rolls the ball back to him, and the next minute, boom, and you're like, holy shit, did that thing like take the net off? And I'm just sitting there going, oh God, no.
Yeah. What a powerhouse Risa was, huh?
What a goal that was.
Yeah.
That's right up there for me, I have to tell you.
Yeah.
Wonder what number that was at.
I'll check it out for you. Mark, back
on. Got it. Yeah,
They've
Sylvester
done it
must
out
be very
Sylvester.
bad for them. Yeah, and
Absolutely.
our other Mark, our resident referee Mark, he must be on the bleeding sauce or something. Is he? Irwin a close second.
Only because he was sharing the pitch with him last Saturday, probably.
Jesus, you'd have Irwin ahead of Rooney and Ronaldo.
Yeah,
Yeah, Jay's gone in again. Look, there he is. Gerrard versus West Ham in the FA Cup. Suarez versus Norwich. Thank you, Mark. And
yeah,
the one against Newcastle. There's been
yeah,
some good goals. I get why. I suppose it's the drama of the Origi goal, isn't it?
yeah. Absolutely, yeah, yeah.
And I mean,
And
the piece of quick thinking from Trent is it's right out of the top drawer.
yeah, and the ball boy. Shout out to the
Yeah,
ball boy
yeah,
as well.
100%.
Absolutely,
I
yeah. So I
wonder did he
thought I'd
get a
get you.
Champions League medal that year? Deserve one.
I tell you, if he didn't, he should have.
Yeah, absolutely. There was an assist there, wasn't
Um, we've got about say 5-6 minutes to go, and we haven't mentioned transfers yet, which was kind of our goal tonight because we do a
Yeah,
transfer show. So we kind of like
absolutely.
to talk about other fun stuff in this Thursday tier talk.
Yeah.
But we have to mention a little bit of transfer news, don't we? Where do we begin?
There's only one
Richarlison.
place to begin. There's only one place to begin.
Where are we going? Are we going Richarlison to Spurs?
Absolutely, we are. Because I told you if they sold the two boys, they get over 100, and you said not a chance, and they're getting almost 60 for Richarlison, Sterling. So if Calvert-Lewin was to leave, they'd smash that 100 million barrier for the two boys. I
Yeah,
know you're not a fan of Richarlison. I think this kid could elevate himself at Spurs massively. I think he stepped up the ladders. He obviously came from Brazil and he went to Watford and he did really well at Watford. Got the step to Everton. I think he's done well at Everton. I think he's now taken the step up to Spurs. I think it's Spurs under Conte. I think if Conte stays at Spurs for the next 2 to 3 years, we're all talking about Richarlison.
tell me then, looking at the Spurs team there, tell me, I don't mean he's not going to fit in or he's not going to be played. Where does he
Yeah.
fit into that setup? Where do you expect him to be? Obviously, you've got Son and Kane and Kulichevsky. Where does Richarlison come into that thinking?
Well, he might be watching, but I have to go in on a friend of ours at the minute now. I have to go in on our friend Graham Cummins because I saw Graham comment on this today, and Graham is a Spurs fan.
Mm.
And Graham's comments today on social media where Spurs are going to play a 3-4-3, and I expect him to play in the midfield. Well, no, he won't be playing in the midfield because you're playing 3-4-3. You're playing with three centre backs. Your left-sided and your right-sided midfielders will be the wing backs. On the left, it'll be Ivan Perisic. On the right, it'll be the boy Jed Spence when you get over the line. The two centre midfielders are going to be probably Bissouma and Bentancur. With Hallberg mixed in there. And then you've got Kane through the middle. You'll have Kulichevsky, you'll have Son, you'll have Richarlison, and you'll have Lucas Moura. I think it's more numbers with Richarlison. I think he's adding to what they have. Because I think when Kane misses out, and if Son either plays through the middle, you're missing someone on the left-hand side. Or if Kane misses out, Richarlison plays through the middle, and Son will stay out on the left-hand side. And I also think he gives you the option of playing like a 10 behind Kane if you want to play with a 2.
Okay, so you think this is all about squad and rotation, planning for a big
100%.
season ahead? Obviously, being back in the Champions League and everything.
Champions League, FA Cup, Carabao Cup, Premier League.
Mm.
You need numbers. And we know Harry's got glass ankles. We
Yeah,
know
I
that
mean,
for a fact.
and we know obviously Richarlison. He gives you like a different option as well, a different way about him as well. He can change it up and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mark was on. I don't know why Spurs are signing him. I don't think he gets into that team. I don't think he won't get into the team. I think it will be part of a rotation plan that Conte has there. But certainly
Yeah.
Spurs are doing serious business at the moment, aren't they? They're backing him to the hilt.
Well, listen, if for Spurs to have a Harry Kane through the middle and to have 4 wider attackers in a Lucas Moura and a Richarlison, a Dejan Kulichevsky and a Heung-min Son, that's super for Spurs. Really, really super. and Spurs fans should be delighted. But Graham, he will not play in midfield for Spurs. Just letting you know that, pal. So don't get him with number 8 in the jersey because he ain't playing in midfield.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk. Mark's after bringing up Rafinha, so we have to talk about him. This was the hijack, back around, looped around, tied in a knot. Where's this boy going to end up, or is he going to end up? By the looks of things, could he end up still staying at Leeds?
No, he ends up at Chelsea, doesn't he? He ends up at Chelsea. I think Chelsea. There's been an agreement in place on personal terms and stuff like that with Deco, who obviously is an ex-Barcelona player, and that's been in place. They're saying since January. I think the issue now is maybe, Barca aren't going to have the funds to get this deal over the line, because obviously Leeds stayed up. I think Barca were probably banking on them going down, cashing in a 25-30 mil. I think there was an option of 30-something mil if they got relegated. Obviously Barca are still trying to get players over the line because, they still haven't signed Lewandowski yet. They're just about getting over the line on the Frank Kessie and the Christensen deals with the paperwork and stuff like that. So they're still looking to get Frank at the door pretty sharpish so that he can continue with rebuilding. But I don't think there's money there for Rafinha. I think he goes to Chelsea all day long. I think Chelsea with a Raheem Sterling on the left of a front three and with a Rafinha on the right of a front three, with a Mason Mount in behind a Kai Havertz, I think that's a lovely front four. Really, really do.
Am I right in thinking that's the same Deco who also played for Chelsea?
Yeah, it is 100%. Yeah,
that's right. I was thinking that just when you said it there.
He moved from Barcelona to Chelsea under Mourinho.
That's right. Yeah, I was thinking that. Yeah, because it was interesting today when I was listening to it. It was kind of like, okay, we have an agreement with you guys there. You've agreed the fee. You've agreed personal terms, all. But we're just going to toddle over here and have a chat with Barcelona to see what they have to say. And it was an interesting dynamic. I was thinking at that point too, to turn around to them and say, well, while you're going over there to chat with them, just bring them with you and don't be wasting our time, kind of thing.
Well, I mean, like Barca want the guy. Everything's been in place since January. The issue is Barca purely and simply can't afford the kid. If I go into the shop next week and I stand in front of those nice little Gucci and Adidas crossover, and if they say 750 snots on the tag and I've 300 quid in my pocket, I can't buy them. And that's just what happened to Barcelona with Rafinha.
But we would expect the Barca situation to be resolved, wouldn't we? Is that our thinking?
Yeah, but not this summer. Not this summer.
You think it'll drag on further?
Absolutely. Okay. Well, they haven't got their finances in order yet. The league aren't putting, putting these things in place to say we're going to dock your points or we're going to relegate you if things aren't pretty bad. Now, I think they're putting a brave face on it, and I think Joan Laporta is trying to do his absolute best for the club and keep moving forward. I think there's going to be an awful lot of sales that have to come out of the club in order for Barca to keep the wheels rolling and to get guys in and to make it look like they had a really good window. But to get the likes of Frank Kessie, to get the likes of a Lewandowski, to get the likes of a Christensen and an Azpilicueta and stuff like that, they're going to have to lose a Frankie de Jong. They're going to have to lose a Memphis. They're going to have to lose a Clement Lenglet to Spurs. They're going to have to lose guys here and there so that they can keep putting guys on the payroll.
Question here for you. Mark, back there again. Barca won't pay the same amount Chelsea are willing to. I think that's a fair shout at the moment. Looking where both teams are at the moment, just can't. What you're thinking, if he ends up at Chelsea, does that mean the Dembele situation is done and dusted? Or do you see that still being alive?
It will depend on what happens with the likes of a Hakim Ziyech. Because I think if you're talking about, now listen, maybe they're going to play Sterling through the middle. And if they're going to play Sterling through the middle because he's done it at City, maybe you're going in with a Rafinha, an Ousmane Dembele, and a Sterling, and you're playing Havertz as a 10, which, personally speaking, I think Havertz is a much better 10 than he is 9. I think he plays the false 9 well, but I think if you can put him in with somebody and he can play that link up and be that focal point in the middle and get those cogs turning, I think that's where Havertz does his best work, because it's all those nice little touches, all those little technical give and goes around the corner. He's a super player like that. Maybe they play Sterling through the middle, and maybe they're still looking for a Dembele alongside it, Rafinha. You know?
Yeah, interesting. Mark was saying Barca got a cash injection today. Not sure the full story, to be honest. So we'll definitely look into that for next week and watch it, as because it's amazing.
It's the 56 million that's on its way from Manchester.
Well, you're only paying 11.5, aren't you, over the next 6 years or 5 years or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah, 11 and a half every summer for the next 5 years.
Yeah, that's what I read, which is, I think that's a great bit of business if that's what's happened.
Well, it's like a loan, isn't it?
Basically, yeah, and you're not exposed heavily either.
No, and the add-ons aren't, a guarantee. Like for the add-ons to mount up, it would mean United were extremely successful, in which case he's done his job and given the money and give parts of the money too.
Not to the point of Bayern though, not 3 Champions Leagues and 3 Ballon d'Ors though, no. What was I going to ask you? Tell it. She's after going out of my mind there now. What was I going to ask you? Can't think of it now.
I'm not free on Friday night.
No, it's gone out of my mind there. I can't remember what it was I was going to ask.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, sorry. I remember now what I was going to ask.
Okay.
I've never seen in a transfer window a club like Barcelona that holds the key to so many different movements in the transfer window in so many other clubs. Their situation. Have you seen that before?
I suppose the only things I can think about is maybe the first 2 summer transfer windows. The first one that Abramovich came in at Chelsea, and the first one that City would have had under the Saudi lads, I think that's the only time when markets were dependent on what a certain club did. Because obviously, and PSG as well, anytime there was a massive influx of cash like that, it starts that merry-go-round effect, which keeps the whole thing moving. Somebody needs to get on it and get it moving. And when you get it moving quick enough, that's going to be like, they're right in the middle of it. They're the full. And that's what's going to have to happen for the window to keep turning the way we wanted to turn, because we want business. We want lots of business to be done, and we want to be kept very, very busy on our transfer show, Yeah,
well, we've been kept fairly busy anyway. I mean, obviously some of the movements like the De Jong deal and all has kind of been a little bit slow, and there's reasons for that and stuff like that. So at times it can be a little bit tedious covering it. But again, each week as we've done the transfer show, there's been a little bit more movement each week.
Did you say tedious or tedious?
I say tedious.
There's our friend Ted Poker Gambit in the comments. That's why I said tedious, like that one.
Very good. Shout out, Ted.
Thanks.
Good to see you. Head over and check out Ted's channel, Retrotainment, where he reviews classic movies and stuff like that. And they do a recast, himself and Greg and Carl Sherlock does be on at times as well. They do a fantastic job over there. Really interesting channel. When are Newcastle going to get it moving then? I think Newcastle have got it moving. They just landed Sven Botman, didn't they?
They've picked up Sven Botman, 37 million. They've picked up Nick Pope, 12 million. And they've made the Matt Target move permanent. All good moves. Target came in, did a good job for them. He's young, still has aspirations for the looks of England and stuff like that. Target will do well for them. I think Botman's very, very good. Nick Pope's a great sign and a steal of a price of 12 million. I suppose if you're looking at it as a Newcastle fan, you're just kind of wondering, when am I getting the sprinkling of magic dust that's going to come from the Saudis' pockets, That real, because at the minute, there's no marquee signing.
Yeah.
You're not looking at someone and going, wow, look at what Newcastle just did in the market. Hasn't happened yet. Doesn't mean it won't happen, but right now, it hasn't happened.
They're very clever, though, in the way they're putting the pieces together, and in the way they're very, I would say, prudent in the way they're spending their money at the moment, considering the Saudi ownership. They've been linked with the guy Paqueta as well, is it? Is it Paqueta?
Paqueta at Lyon.
Paqueta.
The guy who
they've been linked heavily with him.
Who played alongside Bruno Guimaraes.
Okay.
Good footballer. Yeah, good footballer, Brazilian. He's very good. But
So he
again,
could he could be potentially one they get over the line.
he could, and you're also, obviously they've had the deal on they had a deal on the table in January for the boy Hugo Ekitike from Rennes, and they've had the deal on the table for Hugo Ekitike, and things just keep happening, and there's injuries, and this will happen, and that happen. But unfortunately, again, neither Ekitike or Paqueta they're not marquee. They're not Newcastle saying to the fans, we're here to have a go. That's got to
Yeah,
be 60, 70, 80 million thrown at somebody, at a megastar, to say, here we go.
I wonder if the approach at the moment with Eddie Howe in there is not necessarily to land a big marquee signing, but to be bringing in enough pieces into the jigsaw to make them successful collectively as a group. I think more so, and I wonder if that's the approach that they're going to take.
And listen, I'm certainly not saying that's the wrong approach, but I just think those Newcastle fans, with the money that was thrown in, I mean, we had this argument in January. I never at once thought the truck was going to be backed up to St. James's Park. We had this argument, right? You thought they were going in for Neymar's, Haaland's, Lewandowski's. I didn't think it happened. And I absolutely didn't think it would happen when you had an Eddie Howe in there. Because I don't necessarily think Eddie Howe was the right kind of guy for a Neymar, for a Haaland, but if you give him younger guys, hungrier guys that are willing to learn, guys that want to take the next step up, I think Eddie Howe's a great coach. I firmly believe this isn't as high as Eddie Howe goes. I firmly believe he gets a big top 6 job in the next 10 years. And I know people will be going, well, what job's he going to get? I don't know what job he's going to get. I did at one stage think he would get the Arsenal job, but I just think he's a very, very good coach. I think he did an amazing job at Burnley. I think he showed us what he can do at Newcastle. I think he's got great eyes. I think he sees a lot. He makes great changes, and he makes, tactically they're very, very good. And I think there's not lots of coaches in the league like that. I think some coaches are relying on the players they have rather than the technique and the tactics of what they can do as a manager. And that's where I think Eddie Howe shines.
Yeah, Mark's on the internet at the moment doing his homework. Barcelona have activated their first lever, which gives them a cash injection of 267 million euros.
Yeah,
So
but
we'd
a
imagine,
massive amount of that has to go to pay the debt as well.
yeah, interesting. And they also sold, he was saying, 10% of their TV rights.
Nah, that's where they got it from. That's
Yeah.
what he's saying. They sold 10%, so they got the 267. But I mean, they're selling their TV rights. Their back is up against the wall, and the likelihood is they're selling those rights as a bridging loan until a number of players come out and they can clear the decks and get money in. Frankie de Jong, Clement Lenglet, Memphis Depay, and others, I would suggest.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're going to be watching. We're going to be watching this over the next week or so. We'd imagine over the next week or so as pre-season really kicks in. A lot of deals are going to be going and getting pushed through and stuff like that. We'd expect big moves from Chelsea. What's your thinking there in Chelsea? It's Raheem.
It's Raheem. It's Rafinha. I know they're talking about Nathan Ake is massively linked with them. They're also talking about they're talking about a possible treble signing from Man City, which would be Zinchenko as backup for Chilwell. Which I can't wait to see. By the way, that Abramovich is just left on the Russian jet and the Ukrainian flag flies in. I'd nearly buy a Chelsea jersey at that stage. So Zinchenko will come in and go understudy to Ben Chilwell. You'll have Ake who'll play as the left centre back, and you'll have Sterling who'll go into that front three with Rafinha as well. And I still think Chelsea do a little bit more. I still think they need another centre back, and I know they're heavily linked with Matthias de Ligt at Juventus.
I've seen that, yeah, absolutely. Ted is back again. Does the pressure spotlight of the top 6 cause guys like Eddie Howe to sort of fall off how good they are as managers? Always look very good as a mid-table manager, but then drop off.
No, I think part of the problem is as fans, when somebody like, an Eddie Howe comes in, and we can look at it from a United point of view. When David Moyes came in, certain fans weren't happy when he came in. You look at what happened this year at Everton. Rafa Benitez came into Everton. Certain fans weren't happy. The guy doesn't have a chance. Now, obviously, the fans that weren't happy about Rafa, they weren't happy because he's an ex-Liverpool. It was maybe nothing to do with his level and calibre of coach. I feel like if Rafa hadn't coached at Liverpool, the Everton fans would have been like, this is a great appointment, right? Whereas I feel like with the likes of a David Moyes and with an Eddie Howe, if you're looking at, let's say, Moyes at United and Howe maybe at somewhere at United, or sorry, at an Arsenal, maybe something like that, I think the fans are a little bit ignorant and they're not willing to give guys like that an opportunity because they don't see them as a big enough name for their club.
Yeah, I think originally we spoke about this before on the show, didn't we? When Graham Potter was linked to Arsenal,
Yeah,
who we think is a fabulous coach, and I think he's a guy who would have no problem
yeah,
embracing a top job,
yeah,
given half the chance and stuff like that. But yeah, we've spoke about this a number of times, and yeah, there's I suppose there's arguments back and forward and stuff like that for it, but unfortunately, those guys who really perform well in mid-table with restricted budgets and not the talent maybe that the top six tend to have and stuff like that, and perform so well. I think the likes of Eddie Howe, I think the likes of Graham Potter, and certainly David Moyes, I think they'd have no problem if they're embraced by the club and there's
yeah.
an understanding of what's involved and stuff like that. I think those guys have no problem being successful in a top four or a top six situation.
I think
Um,
it's as much about being embraced by the fans and being given that level of sort of money in the bank
yeah,
that allows them credit that when results don't go their way, fans don't get in their back and don't want boards and clubs to get rid of them. They'll go, you know what? Let's give him a bit of time. Let's be level-headed about this. We know what he did here. We know what he did here. But the problem is, fans are going to go, yeah, he was at Bournemouth. They're shy. You know, he was
mm.
at Newcastle. They're brutal. He was at,
kind
he
of,
was at
kind
Everton.
of, yeah, kind of the Ten Hag situation at the moment. Not that he's a lower level manager, but buying into the process and giving them the time and being patient that he puts in place what he wants to put in place before being so quick to judge and pull the trigger. Yeah, no, I get you. Yeah, 100%.
Do we talk about fickle football fans? Absolutely.
Mark's back again. Chelsea tried to hijack Richarlison last night. I don't think they know what they are doing over there. It's a new owner trying to show there's life after the Russian money train.
Yeah, I don't. Listen. I saw the stories that they tried to hijack it. I don't know. I don't know why necessarily they would try. Liz Charlotte and a Raheem Sterling through the middle again. A lot of pace in there. It does lack a physical presence for me, you know. But there's a lot of pace. There's a lot of a lot of good finishing in there. The boys all know where the back of the net is and stuff like that. They'll get you goals, they'll get you assists and stuff. But I still think Chelsea will need an out and out number 9, which aren't easy to come by. I spoke to a United fan yesterday, and we spoke about this. I personally feel like you really need to bring him back up to Ronaldo. If Ronaldo gets injured or has a loss of form this year, like that, who do we bring in to replace him? We don't necessarily have an out and out 9 like Ronaldo, and even at Ronaldo, I wouldn't. I'd say in his in the twilight of his career, he's turned into an out and out 9. But I think we need someone. And when you talk about what's available, I don't think there's a lot out there at the top level. I think like you're looking at the boy Haaland's obviously gone to Chelsea or to City. The boy Nunes has gone to Liverpool. You've got the boy Alvarez. If you look at him as a 9, very very capable as a 9. He's also gone to City.
Yeah.
You've Svaller, who's prompt, and you've got the boy Adeyemi, who has just left Salzburg and has also gone to Dortmund. So I don't know what it leaves. We came up with a couple of names, but nothing, what I would say, concrete. Like, I suppose the best of what we come up with was the boy Patrick Schick. He plays for Bayer Leverkusen. He's ex-Sampdoria. He's a Czech international, big physical presence, heads the ball really, really well. Excuse me. Brings other lads into the game and stuff like that. He's a good player. But, I mean, other than that, like you're talking about maybe the boy Ben Yedder, but he's getting on a bit. He's almost 32. You're talking about maybe the boy Victor Osimhen at Napoli. Yeah. Other than that, there is a massive shortage of out-and-out number 9s in world football.
and
and you
and
can
and and not a lick of value at the moment.
and not a and this is why you're seeing more and more teams play with a false nine, because there
Mm,
is no nine to go in and fill that void. You know,
yeah,
and there's a lot of guys that are saying, because of the setups of teams, a lot of teams now play a 4-3-3. Well,
yeah,
there's only one nine. If you played 4-4-2, there was probably two nines. You had two strikers. So it was two chances to get in that starting 11. Now, if you're in there and you don't play through that middle very well, you have to become one of those players that plays on the periphery or out wide, like a Richarlison, like a Rafinha, like a Raheem Sterling, guys like that. All very, very good players. Jadon Sancho's, Marcus Rashford's, Salah's, Mane's, guys like that, who aren't out and out nines. But they've had to adapt because they weren't going to get a spot as a nine in certain teams because they didn't have aspects of the game. And now teams are going, let's sprinkle a couple of these guys in and try and create that nine because we can't get anyone that can do that job.
yeah. Let's finish up tonight. I wanted to get your thoughts on some of the reports coming out from Eric Ten Hag's kind of first week in pre-season training. We've
Yeah,
heard that he's been bringing the boys in an hour early, coming in at 9 instead of 10, I think it was, and leaving an hour late. But that a lot
yeah,
of the training is with the ball at the feet, which is what you would want. But also, a senior Manchester United player today was asked about, well, what's the first week of pre-season being like with Eric Ten Hag? And he described it as intense, both physically and mentally. So I just wanted just to get your closing thoughts on that. What you think of what's been coming out? It's music to your ears, I'd imagine. Yeah.
yeah. Well, it was actually music to my eyes because I've got the United app on my phone, and they've been releasing video clips of training throughout the week,
Mm,
and like that, this guy wants things done a certain way, you know, and most of what I saw was with the ball, and it's touch, touch, touch. It's about creating angles. It's about moving the ball quickly. It's a high intensity game. Um, the group of players you would say he has quite varied because obviously he's looking at guys that have come back from loans. The boy Facundo Pedestri has come back from his loan. Tia Chong has come back from his loan. Guys like that who we don't know where they're going to fit in. Ahmad has come back as well. We don't know where they're going to fit in into a United squad,
yeah.
whether they're going to be part of it, whether they're going to be farmed out, whether they're going to be sold. You've guys like Phil Jones. You've guys like Eric Boy. You've guys like this. You're missing a lot of the bigger kind of stars. Obviously Donny was there, Rashford was there, Martial was there, and Jadon Sancho was there, all involved in the drills, loving it, looking really, really good, and stuff like that. But I want to see it when we get Ronaldo, when we get Bruno, when we get, Frankie de Jong as well. And I want to see it when the squad's a little bit tighter, a little bit smaller, a little more compact. What I've seen look good. And for me, the most important thing is that when I look at this squad, on the 1st of September, that it looks like a squad that can get us, you know, to that top four.
Ted's back. He says, I think the United fans need to pull their money together and get Bielsa to spy on the training to get a real review of how good bad it is. Oh, I
And
tell
like
you.
it went really well for Bielsa, let's be honest.
Yeah, that was the key to success, wasn't it? Really. Yeah. Well, we'll leave it at that. Another great show, action
No,
packed. We
absolutely.
didn't focus too much on transfers, as we
No.
said. We'll always bring up a few because you have to talk about them, especially in the midst of a transfer window. But it's nice to
Absolutely.
focus on some of the other stuff and the fun stuff and the good stuff that's going on outside of transfers, because it seems at the moment on the channels at the moment everyone is just covering transfers and not talking about some other stuff going on in football as well. So nice to put a show together like
Yeah.
this. Absolute pleasure. Everyone, big up in the comments there. Thanks for jumping on live to Mark and Ted and our resident referee, and Ben jumped in, and Morris was in earlier and stuff like that. So we appreciate anyone who comes into the chats and puts the
100%.
really, we're doing these live tier talks and stuff like that is really for you guys in the chat and stuff like that to come on and guide us through it. We'll obviously come on with a number of topics we want to cover, but honestly, we're happy to take it wherever you guys in the chat want to take it every single time. If you want
We
to contact,
we're not
go
gonna
ahead.
bother sitting here. We're not gonna bother sitting here yapping like two wallies if guys aren't gonna get involved for us, guys aren't gonna hit us up, subscribe and stuff like that. Because it's ultimately what you, the fans or the subscribers, want that we want to put forward. So tell us If you liked it tonight, tell us you liked it. If you thought it was shite, tell us, lads, that was poison. We want you to do something else. Give us ideas. Give us feedback. Let us know. Get involved. And we appreciate you guys.
And obviously, while you're on there as well, smash the subscribe, like, bell notification, all that good stuff there. Keep on supporting the show and stuff like that. We will be back regularly now
I
on
mean,
the
that's an
Thursday
obvious one, isn't it?
with the Thursday Tier Talk. Yeah, absolutely. And if you want to contact the show, it's the upper tier podcast at gmail.com. You have no excuse for not finding the show. We are on every social media platform. We are on every audio platform. There's no reason not to find us. Unless you're somewhere in the wilderness with no 4G and no Wi-Fi and you can't connect to the internet. But if you're on the internet and you're looking for football content, your one-stop place should be the upper tier out there on YouTube, and audio versions of the show on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music. And we will be back again real soon. Cheers, bro.
Thanks, pal.